Really very sad news indeed today. Games Workshop's zero-tolerance policy towards fan animations is causing text-to-speech and brother Alpha Abuser to leave Warhammer 40k. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics for yet more bad news for Warhammer content on YouTube, where despite Games Workshop not taking any actual action, their statements, policies and recent actions have been enough to cause the biggest and best 40k parody channel to abandon 40k as something to make animations about and go on to other projects. We have talked about the fan animations thing a few times on the channel already, and for those who haven't been keeping up with it, the rough sequence of events seems to be this. People on the internet make a lot of fun content to do with Warhammer 40k, and some people have been making some really big, high production and high quality things. Text-to-speech has been going for years and years, but more recent projects such as Astartes maybe brought that to the fore. Games Workshop, maybe buoyed by the recent success of 8th edition, has been expanding into all sorts of other areas, and one of their recent projects was this whole Warhammer Plus streaming service, maybe in an effort to try and sate the demand that obviously exists by the massive amounts of views that all of these things seem to get on YouTube. It seems like their overall idea is to try and make some quality content under their own brand, and of course make another thing to sell to us. To that end, they approached several of the high-quality animators on YouTube, reached out to them and asked them to come aboard the Warhammer Plus project, though at the same time they were reminded that basically everything that they had created was based on Games Workshop IP that they don't have any legal right to. They must remove all the content that they'd created from YouTube or other platforms, unless they wanted to face some sort of legal action from profiting off Games Workshop's stuff. I'm sure we'll see the return of a fair few of those, but it does sound like plenty of animators just didn't choose to work with Games Workshop, such as Sodas for example, who made those deathcore animations, whose 40k animations are now gone from any sort of official source on his channel, and also won't be appearing on Warhammer Plus either. A week or so back, Games Workshop updated the IP guidelines on their official site, saying that there was a zero-tolerance policy to fan animations unless they were licensed. I'm not really sure that it's necessarily changed their policy all that much to be honest, but they hadn't really stated their position quite as clearly before now. They're basically stating, if you make animated fan films about Warhammer 40k, expect us to come after you and defend our IP. It would certainly make me think twice if I was going into that entire realm, particularly if I was about to invest a lot of time and effort in my life towards it, and unfortunately this statement seems to have been the straw that broke the camel's back, and has caused brother Alpha Abuser to make this decision. So I strongly suspect that if you're watching this video, the vast majority of people will know the series If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device. It's been going for years and years, the biggest and best Warhammer 40k parody. It started quite small, but now their episodes often run into around the half-an-hour territory. Huge quality high production affairs, poking fun at almost every single aspect of the Warhammer 40k galaxy, and the episodes get literally millions of views each. I think it's hard to understate just how much impact it's had on 40k in general. I'm certain that literally tens of thousands of people who might not have come across Warhammer 40k in any big way have likely either come into the game or just the expanded lore and the universe. If you've not watched it already, I thoroughly recommend checking it out. As I mentioned, Games Workshop haven't actually taken any action towards them. All of their episodes remain up on their channel for everyone to enjoy. The gap since the last activity on their channel has been quite a big one, and I must admit with everything Games Workshop have been doing in the meantime, I was a bit concerned for what was going to be happening to them. In any case, radio silence has been broken. Brother Alpha Abuser posted a long 25-minute video fully explaining his position. That's genuinely pretty moving stuff. I'll post a link down to it at the top of the video description, and again I thoroughly recommend people checking it out. Obviously he knows the ins and outs of it far better than I do, and he answers a whole bunch of common questions and objections surrounding his decision to suspend the series. So most definitely go and watch that after this. But generally the gist of it is that Games Workshop has not contacted them directly in the same way that they did to, say, Astartes or Sodas, to either try and bring them on board to Warhammer Plus, which I must admit I think would be unlikely, just because they are a parody, and the series just sits so far from established lore and canon. I know Games Workshop does parody their own work from time to time, little cartoon strips and the Regimental Standard being some good examples, but I can't help but think that they might not want one of their flagship animations on Warhammer Plus essentially to be a parody of their own lore. I theorise that text-to-speech hasn't been contacted in this way, due to them most certainly being a parody of Warhammer 40k, and though I'm no expert on the subject whatsoever, it seems that parodies enjoy a bit of protection under UK and US law, so I'm not particularly certain whether Games Workshop could have even gone after them even if they'd wanted to. I think maybe the issue is that the law itself is kind of subjective and open to interpretation, which really doesn't help a channel like text-to-speech, which is definitely somewhere on the grey area. In any case, the main announcement is that the series is being put on indefinite hold, and they'd very much like to return to make 40k animations at some point, but there'd have to be a fairly major decision change from Games Workshop, and for them to do a bit of an about-face and start encouraging fan creators again, rather than saying how they're going to have a zero-tolerance policy, kind of implying that they'd be threatening legal action. Unlike a lot of smaller creators out there, these guys certainly sound like there's a lot of complexity going into making every episode of text-to-speech, coordinating multiple voice actors across the world, and such a crazy amount of time and investment that they just cannot afford to keep on making content like this if Games Workshop could pull the rug under them at any moment. He specifically says he's got a child to look out for and a mortgage to pay, and with those kind of responsibilities, you can't really afford to have an income stream that could be turned off at a moment's notice. It's completely understandable and also very, very sad. Apparently there will be 2/3 of the last episode coming out. It was never quite finished, but they're going to release it anyway, but they have made the decision not to work further on it, due to Games Workshop's recent IP statement. After that, it seems like Brother Alphabusa will be looking towards other IPs, companies that specifically say that they will allow people to make fan animations about their things, and maybe look towards continuing the text-to-speech ethos in a bit of a different form. I've got no doubt at all that whatever he comes up with will certainly be worth a watch. To an extent, I think a lot of the enjoyment from the TTS series really doesn't stem from it being in 40k in the first place anymore, and I'm sure whichever creations come next will do great as well, provided they keep on being funny, which I'm sure they will. As they haven't been told to take any down, they won't be taking any of the text-to-speech episodes down off the channel unless they really have no choice, though of course the series won't be continuing in the near future. So overall, really sad news, and I'm sure Games Workshop is going to receive quite a bit of feedback about this, in people who are disappointed in the direction they've taken with these fan films, and all of the essentially free advertising they provide to Games Workshop. I feel like changing their policy towards this will be a really good idea for them. They're really not getting any more popular amongst the fan base by forcing talented and much-loved creators out of the space and taking their abilities to franchises that have nothing to do with Warhammer. As always, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and please do check out the full statement that they made on their own channel. If you'd like to keep up with more 40k news and reviews, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where we'll all cross our fingers for Games Workshop actually doing some smart things in the future. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos, I would just like to mention the Auspex Tactics Patreon page down in the video description. It is what allows me to keep on making 40k discussion and review videos, so feel free to check it out if you're interested. You do get certain things like seeing videos early, voting on what comes next, and chance to win some big model kits each month. The link's in the video description below. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.